Hello, viewers, and welcome to yet another episode of NewsBTC's We Need to Crypto Talk. Our segments are about finding the most amazing blockchain projects and speak about them, with their very founders and CEOs and marketers and tech guys. That being said, today's show is no different. In this segment, we are going to speak with Andy and Leonard, the co-founders of New Era Energy. So, what is it about? Let's hear from the founders themselves. Hello, Andy. Hello, Leonard. How are you two today?
Hi, Yashu. Very nice
Yashu, thank
talking
you
to
for
you.
having us here.
Well, it's good to see you here and welcome to News BDC's We Need to Crypto Talk. And I'll begin with the first question itself, which is about you guys. Why don't you just give me a small introduction of your professional background in the blockchain space before we begin discussing New Era? Starting with you, Andy.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy. I'm
Yeah.
one of the co-founders of New Era Energy. My background, basically, I have about 8 years of experience in the energy sector, dealing with renewable energies. And back in 2015, we started doing more renewable energies projects in Vietnam. So that's where we started, And for me, my exposure it's really on the renewable side, and I dabbled a bit into CRM developments, cloud implementations, and to be honest, my experience in blockchain it's been about 4 months journey for me, so I'm still learning, and I look forward to learning from everybody.
Coming to you, Leonard.
Right, so thank you. So my name is Leonard. For me, I joined, or rather, I got exposed to the blockchain almost the same time as Andy. My previous background was basically I used to be from JP Morgan, doing projects, and I am more on the tech space together with operation. So together, Andy, we look into the various market, and for me, I chanced upon doing solar in Vietnam. So through this whole journey, I came to understand there were a few obstacles that basically we could have solved with blockchain, and therefore, together with Andy, we decided to come and create this thing called New Era.
Good to listen to that, and I can see a very common ground between both of you guys, and I can see that in the definition of New Era itself. But coming from you, I would like to know more about it from you guys. That what is it project? What is this project all about? New Era Energy, and if it's possible, please could you just try to explain it as as layman in most layman terms, as if you were explaining it to my grandma, because
Sure.
I
Maybe I'll just share a bit about New Era. So to put it very simply,
all
what
right.
we are trying to achieve is to reward people for doing green. Anything that people do green, we want to reward them, and as a result, we want to encourage more awareness of climate change, awareness of clean energy, how we can use that, in the world today we live in. So that is the very basis of New Era.
Right. So if you look into statistics speaking in the market right now, there's about like 45% of the world being very passive about doing green. So right now, those that are really active about doing green is about like 5% of the whole entire world. So with our platform, we truly hope that it would actually motivate and encourage people to do more green. And this will be through tokenizing using blockchain.
But I can really understand the innovation that can be put using the blockchain technology. But is it even required? Because we already have organizations working in the space, such as the UN, and we have these carbon treaties, among countries. They have formed their own, European organization. I think I forgot the name, but they have
Yep.
an organization like that, which are, pretty much doing the very same thing, awarding people with the carbon credits or something like that. So why do you think you need to emerge in the space?
Let me just share a personal story for us. We being in a renewable space, we have claimed carbon credits by ourselves as before. So just maybe a quick sharing of how a carbon credit process will take place. Typically, you have to engage consultants. Consultants will come down to your renewable site. They'll verify and assess how much carbon credits will you be entitled to. That takes typically about a 12 months process. After it's done, what's going to happen is they will apply to what you just mentioned, the different programs that are in the world today. And these programs, for example, the UNFCCC's program, they run this program called the Clean Development Mechanism Program. Through those programs, they actually issue you carbon credits, right? So that process, the auditing process, for the issuance, that takes about almost 3 to 6 months. So if you see this entire process, easily could be a 1.5 years process. And after getting your carbon credits, you have to be encashing it, right? You want to be selling it to end users. That essentially takes easily another 1 to 3 months, depending on how do you find the buyers for that. We've been through that process ourselves, and to be honest, it can be cumbersome. It can be very long, and who actually verifies this and who actually issues all these carbon certificates? It actually lies in the hands of I would say a very enclosed organizations. And to be honest, right, we talk about carbon credits today. Do we as individuals how familiar are we with it? And are we able to participate in it? And to be honest, I can tell you, it's for us individuals, there is no way for us to participate at this point of time.
So I'll ask this from Leonard itself, that what kind of infrastructure replaces this government-oriented organizations? I mean, how is it actually happening, in real time? Could you explain us in a chronological order, if possible, sir?
Right. So, following on what Andy has mentioned, in the market right now, there are quite a number of carbon credit protocols. So there's like CR program, there's BCS, and there's IREC, and there's multiple more. But what do they have all in common here is that they are not able to verify it on individual level. What it does is that if you, for example, if one day you go Starbucks, you bring your own mug. To be frank, if you save up one plastic cup, you are entitled to some carbon credit. But the only thing here is that you need consultant to come in, which usually the cost is not cheap. So what we try to do here is that we try to understand a bit more about this whole protocol and what was the baseline, and we found out that all of them uses the same thing, which is ISO 1064 standard. So I think this came to our mind and we think about it. Now blockchain is so transparent, tamper-proof. Why not have this whole verification put onto blockchain and make it available for all the masses? So as we went to explore more, we speak to more carbon consultants and specialists. They say, yeah, that's possible. So that kept our mind going, and we decided, yeah, why not we create a new era, a platform that is able to reward individuals for doing green. So we believe that for doing green, it's not only institution that has been. I think everyone like you, me, Andy, on the street, they can play their part. Ultimately, together as one, we are stronger than having this institution performing themselves. So in terms of new era, we are glad to say that we are doing some patent pending on our whole process in terms of putting the whole ISO onto a blockchain, and thereafter we have a verification mechanism to verify individual assets, whether using a recycle bag, so on and so forth. These are all use cases that can be applied as long as our ISO 14064 standard is put on the blockchain in the right place.
But it is, I think, raising more concerns as far as the adoption is concerned. I think we already have a preset format, a standard, universal standard for conducting these operations. And if you try to replace it with your model, and I don't mean to replace it like entirely. Of course, you will start small. Don't you think you will be falling under the purview of regulatory authorities as well? Because the matter is directly concerned with the environment ministries in your respective countries. So how is it going to take place on that regard, from the legal perspective?
So that's a very good point, actually. So one thing about the market here is that it is divided into two markets, one being regulated and one being voluntary. So the voluntary market is much bigger than the regulated. So for the regulated, they recognize a few programs like CR, BCS, IREC. But the truth is that looking at US, they have really stepped out of the whole Paris Agreement. So to them, it's more of a voluntary piece. And ultimately, what they require was a central source of truth, a verification process that is true to everyone. So we managed to solve that problem by using ISO standards that everyone can agree on. And further to that, what we have done was that we are working with world-renowned carbon consultant to come on board, provide the calculation, and further to it, we even allow another auditor to come in to audit the calculation that we are doing. So this is to give everyone confidence that the calculation is not created by me or Andy out of thin air. It's something that is used by everyone, but what we did was just to make it available for the masses.
Do you have something to add there, Andy?
Well, basically, you're right. So they are already, these are already existing international standards in the market, right? So we are not trying to replace it. Let me just share some statistics, right? So last year, in 2017, there was about a total of US $52 billion worth of carbon credits that was transacted, right? And that's the regulated market. And then there is about 200 million US dollars worth of carbon credits that was transacted in the voluntary market, right? But this whole entire process only makes up of 15% of the demand for carbon credits. Well, the reason is very simple. Today, the only people that can access to this market are actually corporates, renewable players. And the demand for carbon credits, to be honest, there's still a gap there, right? So we are not trying to replace the existing programs. Instead, we are trying to actually to synergize with it, to add on to create more carbon credits, to be able to allow more producers of carbon credits in the market. End of the day, the standard that we're using is going to be the same as the one that is being used globally today, which is what Leonard has been mentioning, the ISO 14064 standard. And we're going to apply that, into our program, into our own platform, and we allow individuals to be able to start generating their own carbon credits, which is the same as of the same standard as what's already in the market. So we're just trying to increase the pool of people that can actually produce this.
So where will you start exactly? I mean, have you chosen a spot to begin with? Will it going to be somewhere near your regions? Where it's going to be happening?
Yeah.
Let me just share something as well. I'm from Singapore. I've been in Indonesia for 2 years, Malaysia for 2 years, and now I'm in Vietnam, helping develop renewable projects. And I can tell you today, the mentality of Southeast Asia, right? We are still lagging very behind in terms of understanding the actions that we do and how much impact there is. And in terms of the adoption of clean energy today, globally, wind and solar, we are only talking about about 14% of the energy sources. And in Southeast Asia, it's still at a very low rate. Right. So if you're asking me where are we going to start at, we're going to start at Southeast Asia, because number one, the energy demand is going to increase over the years, because the Southeast Asia as a region is developing very fast, and the demand for energy is going to grow. But we want to match the growth of energy with the more clean energy development, and that is the reason why we've chosen Southeast Asia as the first place for us to tackle this problem.
So, coming to the very main point, there should be a roadmap for this, right? I mean, these projects sound very colossal, in its approach. And to begin with something really, really colossal, I believe you must have a roadmap that you want to finish your project by this end and then launch it in the market. And you must be raising funds for that, at least, of course, you're doing a blockchain project. So could you just take me on a route? Just show me that how is it happening? What is the timeline?
So definitely. I think for us, we have a very clear roadmap on hand. So in our team, we are glad to say that Matthias Gilbert. So for him, he's awarded actually the greenest man on earth. So for him, just to share a little bit about him, he basically spent his entire life advocating, having individuals to adopt green behavior. So having him on board with our team, when we shared what we were doing, he fell in love about what we were doing, because finally there's a system, a platform that can really help to incentivize individuals. So because he has been embarking this route for many years, he has a following of thousands over people. So in Malaysia, in Philippines. So in terms of roadmap, we are looking to first focus on Malaysia. And we are glad to say that he's having a campaign somewhere in the early February. So the campaign is called Negawatt. So Negawatt will be the very first campaign that we will be doing together with him using our beta platform. So it will be implemented in one of the schools in Kuala Lumpur. It's simply to encourage families to be reducing the power usage. So this is the first program that we are going to embark and create more exposure about what NERA does and how can we assist campaign to help them measure what couldn't be measured before. And even if it can be measured, how can it be done for free? So we are quite proud to say that this will be our first initiative together with him. And there are more coming up along the way, because for him, he has a lot of programs that he is looking to fulfill. So I think for Matthias, there's a lot of campaign that we can embark on. And I think on the second part here is that we are also looking to see how can we participate in whole renewable project space. So that is also one critical portion, because renewable energy simply generate carbon credit. So these carbon credits are recognized by global standards. So this again goes back to your question: how are we able to link ERU against an international standard? So what we are doing here is that we would love to participate in renewable projects. These generate a global standard carbon credit, and together with our self-generated ERU credit, the computation is the same. So this allows companies and individuals to do interchangeability of all these various credit and fulfill everybody's needs. So ultimately, what we hope is that we will be a platform where both individuals can collaborate and work together.
That's good. So I'll just move to Andy for another one. And coming from the technical point
Sure.
of view, blockchain itself is a very nascent term. It's a very nascent technology, and we cannot exactly say that we have experts in the field right now. And the
Yeah.
scale at which you're creating this project requires some sort of experts. So how are you achieving that as well? I mean, from the technological point of view, you have so much issues to face in the future as well as if I just mention scalability as one of them. So is there any plan even there that how will you just roll out the software by which time and how will you gonna achieve that?
Sure. First of all, I mean, you're right to point out that this is a major project because
Right.
basically we are trying to create a movement among the masses, right? How can carbon credits, which is usually generated by corporates, and we're going to let individuals to be able to generate that. So we have actually broken down into projects, small little projects, as well as a roadmap of how we could implement all this onto our blockchain. So in terms of carbon credit generation, it can come from many very different sources. But what we're going to start with, it's very close to what our background is, which is renewable solar. We're going to start with actually rooftop solar. That's one of the things that we will be doing. And another thing is actually plastic, right? So we'll be actually generating, we'll be calculating and creating a process of verifying as well as certifying based on these two segments first before we moved on to things like waste reduction, electronic waste, which is very big today, and the final one is food wastage. So all this is part of it's going to be an ongoing process. It's not immediate. And at the same time, when we map all this onto the blockchain, creating our Genesis block, and creating the variables to it, we are very glad to be working with blockchain experts. And I can share with you that the blockchain community has been very helpful. Some of them has been very forthcoming to share with us how they can actually help us to map certain of these verification process onto the blockchain, and how can we actually get more people involved to verify it as well, so that it becomes more decentralized from having just a small group of people being to say that you can have so much carbon credits. And that is the beauty of our blockchain today. And in the spirit of blockchain is really about helping each other, really decentralizing from just a few group of individuals. And we're just very happy. We are just very lucky to have that with us.
Yes. So I think that this is a bit of what Andy has mentioned, right? We are really in debt to the whole blockchain community being so open to guide us along, because Andy and we come in quite fresh in terms of the blockchain, but we managed to get a lot of partnership with quite a number of blockchain companies. They are the one that has been educating us in terms of they love our project, so they really help us a lot in terms of the execution part of the blockchain space, because the business sense of it is there already. We kind of got all the things connected. So on the blockchain space, we are actually working in partnership with quite a number of companies to make sure that everything goes as seamless as possible.
So may I add something as well? Sure. In terms of the blockchain space, right? We have a few. Actually, we have some requests, inquiries from different companies and organizations. One actually very interestingly, it's being in the blockchain community, it's actually coming from crypto miners. So mining companies today, some of them, they have actually came to us to ask us, if there's a way they can actually buy the carbon credits from our platform. That is actually one thing that we're exploring. At the same time as well, we have companies, coming to us who already have carbon credits, and they want to see whether is there a way they can actually tokenize their carbon credits. But all these are in the process. You are right. There's so many ways we can actually encourage more people to do green using our platform. But we should probably take it, step by step. And we're going to roll out, what we know best first, which is going to be solar first. and plastic, because I think plastic essentially it's something that's on top of everybody's mind when it comes to environmental impact.
Good to listen to that. And I'll just jump to the nitty-gritty details of this interview now, which is related to the kind of, the how you are raising funds for this project in general. I mean, are you doing an ICO or are you going after equity investors? How is it going to happen?
So ICO is definitely one fundraising route that we are embarking on. Right now, what we are actually in the phase where we are raising a private placement phase of 18 million, and during our crowd sale we are raising another 18 million. So this is definitely one fundraising process. And on the other hand, we are also talking to actually various green funds. Green funds are basically very interested to see how can we utilize the outreach of internet and the security and accountability of blockchain, right? And how can we use that to create more certificates for that's being produced by people. It's something that they've always been thinking. Is it even possible? At the same time, we are showing to them that people are ready to adopt it. And if we can create a way to incentivize and reward people for doing green, we can essentially create a movement by the masses, and that can help to drive more awareness of this climate change.
Any words to add, Leonard?
Right, so I think just adding on a bit more to what Andy has mentioned, yeah, ICO is just one of genre that we are reaching out to the masses, because what we are creating is a platform for the masses. So right now in this space, there's no other platform that masses can participate in other than ICO. So ICO is just one of the genre that we are exploring. At the same time, in terms of like private equity fund injection, these are things that we are also exploring. But in terms of mobilizing the masses, nothing is as strong as ICO right now in the market. So having people to really be aware of what we are doing, that's another reason why we came into ICO space. Initially, this whole project, we were thinking of maybe a JV with a company, some investment, shares, equity, but we will be going into a whole route of like, how do we get the mass adoption? So looking at so many companies being able to rally the crowd, it's not about the money, it's not about the crowd mobilization, getting that kind of exposure and attention about what we're trying to do. I do see, I think ICO is a very good space to really get people to understand what we really want, and having them actually participating and buying our token give them the kind of responsibility to, yeah, I think I should do green. So they feel connected with everyone, and this is like a big family per se.
Well, good to know that. And on that note, I think we can finish this interview. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Andy and Leonard. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.